business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Did a little pause there because my guest is so awesome. I had to think about him for a little bit. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, and every day. Today's guest is going to light you up. I spent 5 minutes with him. I'm already lit up, so you're going to light up as well. You're going to be motivated. You're going to be challenged. And most importantly, you're going to walk away with tools that inspire action, both in your life and the lives of others. And you can put that into your business as well. How cool is that? But before we dive in, here's your homework. How are you going to serve yourself and serve others today? Today is the key word. Don't wait. And it doesn't have to be big to make a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes. Let's discover how servant leadership in business can create ripple effects that last far beyond that crazy bottom line. And a quick shout out to our sponsor, Epic Impact, the 4-step storytelling framework that's transformed how I pitch, post, and podcast. If you're a coach, founder, or creative trying to connect with your audience and move them to action, this is your secret weapon. Engage, persuade, inspire, and then close whatever your deal you're trying to close. I use it every day and it works tremendously. AI alone can't tell the story, but Epic Framework can. Grab your free Epic Impact Starter Kit at epicimpact.com or reach out to me and I'll get you all the information. And congratulations to you audience and guests and my guest today. We just got named top 20 in Small Business Marketing Podcast. I love you all. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure doing this. 740 shows in and now 741 with this great guest. And I'm going to keep doing more so we can all together impact the world. Speaking of impact, we're way out in the United Arab Emirates. I always like to say that instead of UAE. So my vocabulary works. He's our international guest. It is 4th of July. So happy 4th of July, everybody. But I really wanted to bring Gary in because I did some background. This guy's done everything. If you know Wim Hof, he's walked and climbed the Wim Hof. The guy's a top tier guy and I hear a wonderful guy. But when your guest has done a lot of things, he can have a lot of things to share to impact your life as well. So let's bring him on. Gary, welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
Thank you. And congratulations on the podcast as well. I mean, 741 episodes is some feat. So yeah, congratulations. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. When you say it, it sounds crazy to me, but yeah, it's just, it's great. It's a community, which what this should be all about. It's not about me at all. It's about community making an impact. Now, there's a phrase you have that I'm looking through your bio and everything you do is destiny helper. What is that? Define that for us.
Yeah, so it's actually a term that I sort of learned from my wife. So she had heard it somewhere, and I think about mentors and all that, and of course that's great, but I think destiny helpers probably hits home a little bit differently. And I have a coach at the moment, and he talks about like getting into receiving mode and that we're antennas and that like if we're open, we will sort of receive things. And I feel like there's a lot of destiny helpers out there, but if you're sort of maybe like closed-minded and you're not open, you won't sort of spot these destiny helpers. So it's just really a name for people who've helped me in my career when I was stuck. It could be it like health, wealth, love, fulfillment, goals. I just feel like I've had these destiny helpers who've sort of helped me along my path. And ultimately now I sort of want to become that as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it does. You're taking the mentorship, which I love, and kind of deeper diving into it because your coach is mentoring you, he's building your destiny for you, right?
Exactly. And I think Tony Robbins like said it best as well, like business is like a spiritual game. So that really resonated with me. And I think that has a deeper sort of an impact.
Yeah. You've traveled a lot. You're born in Ireland. You're in the UAE. Sounds like you've been in other places. You've done a lot of things in your career. Why?
That's a good question. I think I'm sort of driven spiritually in a way. It's not like I've planned things out per se, but yeah, I was raised in Ireland. And then when I finished university, I backpacked to Australia via South America and Asia, and then found myself sort of starting my career there and fell into sales. and I started in a startup, right? And that didn't really start up, unfortunately. And then I made the decision, intuition, I need to move back to Europe. So then I was sort of, I guess, guided, and I moved to the UK. And then I eventually moved back to Ireland, and I thought that was it. I'm sort of finished. And then, I was taken then to the UAE sort of through work. So once again, it goes back to the destiny helpers. But yeah, I've just been, I guess, very open-minded. I've not really thought about it, but like I have lived in 4 countries now, which is pretty, when you actually think about it, it's pretty insane. And I've learned a lot in each country, and I just love experiencing like different cultures, meeting different people. It makes you like really open-minded, and ultimately it makes you sort of more empathetic, to people from different countries and different situations.
Oh, I love that. Now, I haven't done everything you've done, but I'm driven as well. An audience, he's not saying you got to be living in 4 countries to be driven and have that passion and purpose, but it leads to that. So the word that comes to my mind, which you're developing, is your legacy. You're in late 30s. I won't say your age. You look 20, but besides that, talk about your legacy, because you're building a tablet for, I call it credits at the end of your life of a hell of a legacy.
Yeah, so when I think about legacy, I mean, it is like what people are going to remember you for. It's like when you're not in the room, what are they going to say about you? So, like, I feel like I had a gift when I was younger, that I did work for this company, I basically sort of fell flat in my face, so to speak. It went into liquidation, administration, ultimately wasn't really being paid. So I was sort of frozen for the first few years of my career. And I was only at 27, I made the decision then to sort of move back to Europe, and started in the UK, and almost started with like a blank canvas, and invested in myself, like went to business seminars, like listened to people, bought programs, like networked with people. And ultimately, I feel like in the last 10 years, like I've learned a lot of things, and it led me then to writing a book, which is called Built by Lessons. So a bit of a shameless plug, but really it was just reverse engineering what I did, because ultimately I'd love to have given this book to myself when I was, whatever, 22, 23. So my legacy really is sort of, I guess, once again, helping people avoid the mistakes that maybe I've made, and accelerating their success. And it doesn't have to be career. I always mention like the health, spiritual success, and yeah, just finding a purpose, I think, really. And I mean, I'm 100% still on that journey, but that's ultimately what I want my legacy to be, because it feels good to help people, to mentor, to give back.
Storytelling, like your book, it sounds like it definitely a story. You've probably helped so many people and served so many people. It's just one of many ways. So, do you think your story, going out there and sharing with others, helped you get past your challenges?
Yes, 100%. I think I started working with a coach maybe like 2 years ago, and I actually said to him, like, I'm a little bit sort of confused, and he said, "Don't worry, like confusion leads to clarity, and curiosity leads to clarity." So yeah, I ultimately found that through writing the book, it was very sort of therapeutic in a lot of ways. So it actually sort of helped me overcome certain blockages, maybe sort of from a career perspective or even personal life, about what I wanted to do. And once again, the coach, I'll give him a shout out, Aidan O'Brien, who's an Irish guy in Dubai. He always says to me, like, don't think of your future, think from your future. Like, you go out and you sort of grab in your future, and think about how you would dress in your future, how you would speak, like all that type of stuff. Like, what would your day look like? So yeah, ultimately that sort of, through writing the book, has sort of helped me even sort of see what the future is going to look like as well.
Yeah, and I love that you shout out your mentor. Audience, that's a tip when you're talking about it. If you remember, I don't always remember the quotes I get from my mentors, like people like you host, but I love that you shout out names. Give people credit. It's just another way to serve yourself and serve others. I love that. You're a sales professional. You're an expert at it. I've seen your stuff. You're doing quite well. What's one piece of advice? Because we're always selling. I sold you to be on this podcast. You haven't even met me, but I sold you through Nick, Book Thinkers. Shout out to Book Thinkers. But what's that one tip for people to do in sales?
I think it boils down to two ears and one mouth. And I didn't, I didn't know that at the start of my sales career. And I think it does come down to listening. I mean, oftentimes I would have been on sales calls and we would finish the call and my manager or mentor would be saying, who spoke more, you or the customer? And I'd be like, oh, probably me. Like that's just not good. It doesn't show that you're actively listening, that you really sort of care. It just shows that you're looking to get out what you want to say. And I had this really funny incident, like when I moved to Australia backpacking, and someone said, "Sell me this pen," and I'd never heard of this concept. So I was just talk, 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 like making up stuff about the pen. And ultimately, I later realized it came down to like just questions and listening. How long have you been looking for a pen? Like, what's your current pen? When was the last time sort of you used a pen? So ultimately, it does come down to that sort of two ears and one mouth, and really listening like your life depends on it, like my coach says.
It's a funny phrase with me and you and your audience. You probably heard it millions of times, but it's $1 million tip. And I've lived it. I know you lived it. It could, because that's the bottom line of everything is we need sales. We want to make ROI. We want to make money. When the mindset is, so this is all a mindset when you say two ears, one mouth. But how does somebody listening develop that?
I think in terms of like, I think if you keep walking into a wall and banging your head, you're eventually gonna be like, okay, like something needs to change here. You ultimately need to be coachable as well. Like, I mean, the first time someone says it to you, there's a bit of ego, but then eventually I guess the older you get a little bit wiser as well. And then the more you see patterns, like you've got to understand your patterns, and the opposite of your pattern is your solution. So if you constantly are talking all the time and you're not getting the sale or whatever it may be, you got to change the pattern. So I think it's sort of pattern recognition in yourself and in others that ultimately sort of I guess solves it, so to speak.
Yeah, it's that phrase of doing the same thing over and over again and thinking you're getting the same result is a form of insanity or something. Whatever, I forget the phrase, but audience,
Einstein,
you
yeah.
do. Yeah, Einstein. Thank you, Einstein. That was a really good one. Besides mindset, what's another tip for sales that's worked for you that you've mentored people that's been really successful?
What I noticed when I worked with a very large company, when I first went in there, I saw that the best salespeople were amazing public speakers. And when I first saw them, I thought, hey, this is just natural, like they're natural speakers. But I quickly discovered that a lot of people have learned how to speak in public. And I learned about something called Toastmasters. I always tell people to do this, join Toastmasters. It's basically helping you sort of become a better public speaker, speaking in front of strangers. It's a community, it's all around the globe. Like there's one in Galway where I'm currently on holiday in Ireland. There's one in Dubai, there's loads in the US. And I found that through speaking to completely different people, strangers, about topics you have no idea about, you start to get more confident. When you do interviews, you become better at interviews because nothing can really throw you because you're used to speaking in public, and there's a structure to it as well. And it boils down to like, tell them what you're going to tell them what you've just told them, and then just sort of summarize the whole thing. And I found that helped me, and it's helped so many other people as well.
It's so powerful. I love what you just said. It's so true. And people think, well, you don't have to be a speaker like Tony Robbins. That's not what you're saying. I mean, me and you are not Tony Robbins, but we're here doing the podcast interview, talking amongst each other. It's so great. Just get better every day. What's one thing over your years in sales that people do wrong? One thing that you see consistently?
What people do wrong. I think a lot of people probably push too much. Like they're especially when you're younger. I think they sort of become so consumed by something, and they put themselves under so much pressure. Like it's sort of like the water trying to sort of hit into the rock instead of going around the rock. So I sort of found that actually when I surrender to the process, like and trust in the process, that I'm ultimately a better salesperson in front of my customers. Because if you're putting too much pressure on the customer, we've all been there, like we all know what that feels like. It's not a nice feeling. But I just think as long as you're doing your best, following up, in the right ways. I think that that ultimately is probably the best way to go about it. So I think I look at myself when I was younger and it was just push, 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 whereas now I'm sort of learning to surrender. And life is a dance in a way. It doesn't have to be a fight all the time. So I mean, that's a very spiritual outlook. There could be other salespeople who completely disagree with that, but that's what I found for myself. It helps me a lot.
We're together because that's exactly how I was doing, is pitching, pitching, pitching. I was doing okay, but I was not building relationships, or sometimes pissing people off. And I totally agree with you. The ultimate stage for sales is pitch competitions. And you did a global pitch competition. Tell us about that experience. I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Yeah, so basically to reverse engineer it, so I won a global pitch competition in my company, and there was like 2,000 salespeople globally, and I won it 2 years in a row. And the CEO of the company, it's like an 80,000 employee company, was actually in the first pitch, and awarded me the prize, which was amazing. But I went from a guy who sweated in a suit in university in Dublin to winning a global pitching competition through things like being a sponge when I joined the company, like finding mentors, like asking them what worked well, becoming curious as well about different technologies, about how I could improve my pitch, and ultimately then just getting comfortable in front of people through the Toastmasters things. And yeah, I won it, which was amazing. And I think the competition in that made me a lot better. And I learned from them as much as they learned from me, and ultimately I ended up winning it. And I then did my wedding speech, and I found that easier than anything else. I didn't even need a piece of paper because it all came from the heart. And it's all around practice. Like, practice does make progress. It doesn't make perfect, but I just practiced so much, and eventually practiced so much that it just became so natural. Practice in front of my parents, my wife, my siblings. So yeah, that was sort of the method to it.
God, and winning it twice. Congratulations. I mean, once is amazing, twice is above amazing, I guess. And I love that you say about learning and mentors. Audience, that's that's $1 million tip. You want to be a champion like him, or just be better, up levels? Learn from people, ask questions. They're going to answer. You come ask me about a podcast, I'll give you all the answers. You go to Gary, reach out to him, he'll help you with sales. We're out there to help you. Just got to ask. We're not going to ask you. You got to come ask us. So that was so great. The book. Let's go back to the book, because it's so exciting to me what you're doing with that. What, when people read it, what's the theme or mission, or what they're going to get out of it?
The mission, once again, is like, I think it's very much focused like more on early in career, but like I've had people who are many ages read it because I think there's golden nuggets in there. But really for me, it's when you write a book, it's for the you from like 10 years ago, as an example. And it's just that journey of like, I felt like after university, I was sort of frozen, because ultimately you sort of go through the schooling, education system, and then university, and almost like goals have been put on you by the institutions. And then when I got into the real world, I froze, like completely froze, didn't really know what to do, didn't know how to set my own goals, didn't know how to sort of, I guess, set a vision as well. So ultimately, for me, the book's purpose is to help people to understand like how to set a goal, how to set a vision, and ultimately find ways to sort of, I guess, reduce what, I guess, all the expectations that society puts on you, and to sort of get back to yourself, your true self, so that you can do whatever it is that is your mission, right? And whatever that may be. So that's sort of ultimately the purpose of the book, is to, I suppose, people to find themselves, which sounds very out there, but even if there's one lesson or one chapter that helps them, I think it's worth it for me putting it out there.
And using the book analogy, our chapters are, I'm 64, I've changed chapters 12 times. So you're right on. I mean, it's especially audience who are out there thinking about making that change. And that goes to my question of, you've reset your life from very catastrophic, could have been catastrophic for you. How does somebody listening reset their life, whether it's personal or professional?
I sort of say at the end of the book, not to spoil it, is like to get curious, like curiosity sort of sets you free in a way. Like if you don't get curious, like you're never going to get clarity in your life. And like, don't be afraid either. I think I was even speaking to a friend about this today. Like, comparison is the thief of joy, and like with social media, with everything, we're always comparing ourselves. But I have another mentor in Ireland where I'm from, and he says, like, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 8. Like, they're on a different path, and they've maybe started before you. But like, ultimately, there's a blank canvas out there. Like, you can reset things very quickly. And for me, I found the gym was like the best analogy ever, because you really see like the changes. You also see even the mindset changes. So you could start with a workout that might change everything, because I think ultimately, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So like, little changes here and there, it doesn't have to be a lot, can make a huge difference.
To simplify this, take action is what you're saying. Whatever that looks like for
Exactly.
you, it's different than me. Your action that you did when 27, when you had all that come into your life, might be different than I do. It doesn't matter what's the end goal. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. And that's so well said. We're coming to the end here. I got to ask you about Wim Hof. I've heard a lot about him. I talked to a lot of people about him. You climbed an icy mountain with him, which I never do. I'm not saying I'm wrong, but it scares the hell out of me just saying that. What was that experience like?
So honestly, it was amazing, and I'll give you a quick backstory. So I
Yeah.
flew back from Vegas and work, and I had a really bad back pain, and it turns out I had a slip disc, and I started to go to physios, and no one could quite get to the problem. And I met one physio, and he was all about breathing and not being so tense. And he asked me, "Have you heard of Wim Hof?" Now, I had read about Wim Hof in a book from Tim Ferriss called Tools of Titans, and I thought, amazing, like this crazy guy who goes into ice baths, who climbs Mount Everest in his shorts, like, very interesting guy. But the physio almost really helped me. So I said, okay, I'm going to look for Wim Hof. And ultimately, I went to a seminar in London with him for like 3 hours. I went into the ice bath, my back felt $1 million. Then I went to another retreat in Ireland, and a guy there said, basically, if you want to really experience Wim Hof, you need to go to Poland, where he's from. So I went to Poland for 5 days, and it was like the best 5 days ever. So he started you off like going into the ice water for like just a couple of minutes, just to get you used to it. And then ultimately it led up to 10 minutes in the ice water with him. And then at the end, you climb a mountain in nothing but just shorts and a backpack. And it was like a 3 or 4 hour hike. And it's a silent sort of hike. And you don't even realize how cold it is. It was minus temperatures, and none of us knew how cold it was. And funnily enough, at the top of the mountain, there was a Polish couple who needed people to help them push their car to start it. And then that broke our sort of walk. And then we all realized this is so cold. And in that moment, I realized like mindset is so important. But the real magic of the Wim Hof stuff is the breathing. I do these breathing exercises every day. And it's not that complicated. People can Google it. And I just find that that really sets me for the day. And if you can do a cold shower for 30 seconds at the end of your hot shower, that's amazing as well, because it's almost like an analogy for stress. Like, if you can, a little bit of stress in the morning with the cold shower, I think the rest of the day almost takes care of itself. So I found like this really impacted like my day to day and how I show up, like with customers, partners, people in my life as well. I'm a lot cooler and calmer, to use a pun.
Yeah, that's a good point. Amazingly incredible person you are. So you walked up Mount Everest, right? Was the
No,
Mount
not
Everest?
Everest,
Not Mount Everest.
unfortunately.
In
It's
Poland.
Mount Snežny, which is like between Portugal, or sorry, Czech Republic and Poland. Yeah.
Minus temperatures in just shorts, no shirt, and shoes, and a backpack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
That's
how
it.
long of a hike? 3 hours?
Like 3 or 4 hours. Yeah, from memory. Yeah.
Holy moly. Okay, audience, I'm more impressed by this guy than I ever have. And I love that you said, because I've had two guests on my podcast who use cold showers to heal them from death. Literally, they were dying. But we'll get into that. So I totally agree. And in a 30 minutes, 30-second shower, cold at the end, do that, audience. You just reminded me to start doing that again. I'm going to be very transparent. I haven't done it. I'm going to start today again, because that's what they both told me. You don't have a cold bath, just do the cold shower. Great tip, Gary. Great tip. let's end with a fun question. I like to learn a little bit more about Gary. We've learned so much about you, but in UAE, I've reserved a table at a restaurant for you, table of 4. You've got one of the chairs, obviously. The other 3 empty chairs, who would you invite to sit and talk with you, whether dead or alive? And what food would you order for the table?
So how many people again?
You have 3 people you invite.
3 people. Ooh, interesting. I'd definitely bring, like, there's a guy called Gary Cardone who is he's Grant Cardone's brother, so he's a very interesting guy. So he's one of my mentors. I'd bring my wife because otherwise she would not be very happy, and I'd probably bring someone like Jim Rohn. Actually, would be super interesting. So the guy who mentored Tony Robbins, because I think I could learn a lot from these different people. Like Gary Cardone is a serial entrepreneur, amazing guy. He mentors me. Jim Rohn is like almost like the godfather of personal development in many ways. And then my wife, I learned from a lot because I'm extroverted, she's introverted. So she would listen and remember the conversation so I could ask her about it later.
Your little assistant there. She's not your assistant. Shout out to his wife. I'm not saying that, but you take the notes. What are we eating at the table?
It's steak, definitely. Steak and probably truffle fries for some reason.
Oh, okay. You're my new best friend. I want to get a chair at that table too. Not just because of the food, but that would be an interesting conversation. Gary, you're an absolute blessing. You're humble. You care about people. You're successful. You're giving back. I know people want to reach out and connect with you. How can they do that?
Yeah, so just look me up on LinkedIn. So it's at Gary Daily Sales. If you go to Amazon as well and type in Built by Lessons, so my book will be on there. And they're sort of the main places I hang out. And I am looking to eventually move into the coaching field. So I'm doing a diploma in coaching. So hopefully you'll hear more about that in the future.
Beautiful. Let's bring you back in a few months when you're a full-time coach, and let's talk about your coaching, because you're going to be a great coach because you care. Amongst all the other things, everything you've done, you care and you have that purpose and passion. Thanks again for being a wonderful guest. You just are a blessing. Audience, here's your homework at the end. Yeah, I have to give you more homework. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, but just not mine. If any podcast you listen to, subscribe to it. And when you get a link like Gary's and you're motivated by it and you go, my cousin needs help, this would be a great podcast, give it to him. That's a gift. If you truly want to have a servant's heart and make an impact, that's one of the many ways that you can impact people, is sharing these podcasts, because that's what I believe a podcast is: motivational, inspirational, educational. If you do any of those, you've changed somebody's life. And it's the best feeling in the world. I know Gary's done that as well. With that being said, me and Gary want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Take care, everyone.